guys. Thanks for taking the time out to listen to my podcast. Just want to let you guys know if you haven't heard about Anchor by Spotify, it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Listen, I was able to do this very easy. Anchor has the tools that allow you to record, edit your podcast right from your phone or the computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a lot more. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, it's free. Please download the Anchor app, go to anchor.fm to get started. Take it easy. FYI, I am damaged. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for another episode of FYI, I am damaged. I'm here with Mayrena, a digital marketing exec. Hi, May. How you doing?
How are you? I'm good.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, we're here because this episode is for basically you've been through a very tumultuous relationship.
Yes.
And, thank you for sharing your time with the podcast. We're here to share your strengths from being in a very abusive relationship, not tumultuous. It's call it what it is.
Yeah.
And how you birthed yourself to who you are now.
I like that, birth.
And I know this isn't very easy to come across, and like you said, this is the first time you're talking about it other than, with close friends and family and what have you. But to put this out into the world, I know it's not that easy.
No, it's not. It's the first time I, let's say, publicly speak about it. I think many people know that relationship ended. Some people don't know the real reasons why. But, I think I've come to a point in life where I can speak about it.
Okay, good. Touch on how you guys came to be and how good it was before things took a turn to not so good.
So how we came to be, like many, Dominican Yorks. My grandmother took me to Dominican Republic.
Wait, what's a Dominican York?
So Dominicans raised in New York.
Gotcha.
My grandmother would always take me to Dominican Republic. So in essence, I built a double life. One there, one here. Fell in love there, fell in love here. And with this person, it just ended in a marriage.
So you met him in New York?
No, I met him in DR.
Going back and forth?
Yeah.
Okay. And dude was a charmer?
Oh, totally. Totally.
And he just got you?
Yeah. Like very detallista, as they say in Spanish, very detailed, very romantic. First couple of dates, the stars from the sky. Very charming.
Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah.
Well, good in the beginning, but
yes, only then. Well, a couple of years after the beginning, but yeah.
Okay. Now, how long did the courtship last for when he first met you and he pursued you? You guys just stayed in communication.
Correct.
And he just
kept
going at you to see if he could get with you.
Correct, yes. Back then it was MSN Messenger.
Yeah.
Gives my age away. But yes, MSN Messenger. And then obviously I would go back to Dominican Republic. We would see each other there. And then we ended up getting married a year and so after.
A year?
Yeah,
okay.
That was mistake number 1 or 2.
Now, but it was that honeymoon period
Yeah.
of the beginning of the relationship that would basically, you just guys threw yourselves at each other. So it got to the point where that crescendo was, let's get married. This must be forever type of deal.
Yeah, and at that point we thought we were older. I was 28. We're not in our early 20s, so we think, okay, I'm close to 30. I'm an adult, but still naive.
I completely agree because I got married in my mid-20s, and I tell people it's the biggest mistake. At least to get married at that age, in like your mid-20s, no one is ready for it. Regardless of who the person is, and they could have sparks flying out their ass. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Too young, I believe. It does work for some, but I feel in general, no. So, I mean, we have two case in points right here.
Yeah.
Was he pushing for marriage to like lock it up, or were you guys at the same level, thinking at the same time that you guys should be married, or?
He wasn't necessarily pushing as much as me, because I had the idea and thought that the sooner we get married, the sooner you get to the U.S. and we can be together full time. So I guess it was more on my end.
And he was aiming to be in the States?
Yes and
or he
no.
just didn't know what he wanted to be because of the age? Well, how old was he compared to you?
Same age.
Okay.
Same age. I mean, I would say yes, every Dominican, and this is not stereotyping, I think. I come from Dominican immigrant parents, want to get here someday at some point. So I'm pretty sure that may have been one of his intentions.
Right. Okay. Otherwise, he was just grinding over there doing what he was doing. He has you're going back and forth. And when did you start seeing the signs of this person?
Was after I moved out there, because he couldn't make it here. I worked remote. I picked up and went over there because, I thought it was real love at that point in life. And it wasn't until later. He always had a strong character. I wouldn't say extremely problematic, or at least didn't show it to me. But he did have a strong character, which in some sense made me feel protected, because I was living in another country that, though it was mine because my grandmother would take me there and I would go there in summer breaks, it wasn't really because I grew up in New York.
Right.
So my culture was more Americanized Hispanic.
Right.
Versus straight up Dominican. So with his strong character, he gave me that sense of security, I guess I would say.
Okay. I wanted to touch on that because you said strong character, and they kind of deem that as, a woman wants a man. And did he kind of fall into those stereotypical, like, have to be a man role? And then with the Spanish culture, you're not a man if you're not a man. The way you act and carry yourself.
No, and I think that may have been one of the things that attracted me to that person, was that he didn't seem that macho Hispanic. He seemed more of what I grew up knowing. We both grow together. We both build a family. And again, that could have just been to convince me of who he was. Because obviously today I have a different perception of that person.
Oh, of course. Now, was his charisma convincing enough for you to set aside his behavior towards you once that started developing? If at all, what made you, either in your own head or to other people, to explain it away?
So I don't think I ever had to explain it, because it took many years before it turned to me. So his character would be possibly, driving, getting upset at other people, or what are you looking at, things like that. So if they weren't towards me, it would be to other people outside in the street. At home we had normal disagreements like normal people, and then it slowly progressed into verbal, to some sense, some sort.
He would just go overboard like he would with other people, but now with you.
Correct.
And you're like, what the fuck?
Correct. Why are you yelling at me, or why are you speaking to me like that? And then would come the insults and the stupid, and you're like, okay, but it doesn't happen every day.
Right. But when he digs into you and degrades you and talks down to you, he'll just go full force and not say, hey, this is my lady.
Yeah.
He didn't have any type of checks within himself that it didn't seem.
He would apologize, and I guess that would make things better. But then, 3-4 months later, I'm really not a problematic person. At least not now, later in life.
You're good, man. You're good.
Like, we were all teenagers in the early 20s, raised in New York City. But, it really didn't have reasons to fight. But then when those reasons did come up, for whatever reasons, the next time would be worse. Maybe harsher names. And then it went from one bad fight a year to 2 a year to 4 a year. And then you're like, what the F? And every time it's worse, to the point that, later on it was physical. And then the shame, like, who really wants to go out and say this person beat me, but I have emotions for this person.
Right.
Or in my case, I want to help you because I realize you have a problem. And then I become that person that it's like, but you can find help. You can go to therapy. You can fix it yourself. Let me help you.
Right.
And then you get involved.
And then other people are like, what are you, nuts? Leave him. One thing I've learned is, and people should take note of this, is that yes, people can change, but they change with other people, not with the person they used as a punching bag.
Correct.
So even if he does have the capacity to change, him seeing you, not gonna happen. He's used to a certain way with you. That's how most abusers are. Maybe they can change, but not with the person that they stood and abused. So, I mean, regardless. But before you decided to leave, what kind of mental maneuvering were you doing to avoid this minefield of a person?
I did seek therapy.
Did he know that you were doing that?
Yes.
Okay. Did he have any thoughts on it, or?
He didn't want to go, and again, in trying to be that helper, I actually started going to therapy to see if he would go to help himself. Versus going for me. And then after going to that first session, and then the second one alone, I said, you know what? I'm the one that needs this.
Right.
And I remember the therapist, I think day 1 or day 2, she was like, if you keep coming to me in 6 months, he either shapes up or he'll be out the door. Because you're going to be a transformed woman. And that really got to me.
Okay. Yeah. And then that's, now since this reached basically all levels of mental, physical, and emotional, this started snowballing into other sort of feeling like, say, anxiety, or like if you were around other people you were arguing, and that just made you so. Also, other things started developing. Did you notice it? Were you introspective of your feelings when these things would occur, or you just felt it, let it go away, and then you realized it later on?
No, because I feel I'm a person that at some point didn't analyze her feelings or dig deep to realize what is happening, or why do I act this way, or why do I run out at 11:30 and tell my friends I gotta go home? I'm running back home, but it's
Right.
because he might be mad. Depends what time I get back, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to live it. But I think other people noticed. And I just had a flashback. I would come back to the United States to visit my mother. I would come visit my friends. And in one of them trips, I came to New York City. I went out with my friends, RG and the girls.
Yeah.
And my dear friend noticed while we were having dinner. And if she hears this, she'll probably remember it.
She better hear it.
She looked at me and she goes, "May, what's wrong? I've been seeing you." I mean, I don't remember the exact words, but she said that she had been observing me and I looked nervous. And psychologically speak, like at the moment, I was like, "No, I'm fine. Why?" But now thinking in retrospect, I was nervous because I was out with my friends and that would have caused him to get upset.
Right.
Because women, I guess, can't hang out with their friends because everything,
They're
in
always
these
up
people's
to no
minds
good.
is,
No, stupid.
yeah, extreme jealousy, possessiveness, narcissism, you name it. You're walking on eggshells constantly.
Now, not to, depending on how you feel about it, not a lot of people would like to classify themselves as a victim, but
I don't.
and that's okay.
I'm a
But
survivor.
a person that survived what you've been through, which many have, what sort of, I would say, negative mantras you would give yourself to kind of excuse this away?
I think
That women would have to start breaking from themselves, hearing this, saying, I shouldn't be telling myself this because that's the wrong thing. It's keeping me here. Have you realized the stuff that you've done and said to yourself that kept you there to try and flip it to a positive?
yeah, and it all came afterwards. It's in learning to love myself first. Learning to love my peace, learning to be a little egotistical. And it's also to know my worth and what I am worth. And I think one thing that, and maybe, let's blame Disney. Sorry, don't sue me. But we as little girls want to be princesses with the Prince Charming and that fairy tale, perfect family life.
Right.
And we always want to be with somebody. And I think when you learn to be by yourself, not alone, I was never alone. I have friends, I have family, I have my daughter.
Right.
But when you can be alone, single, and be happy, I think that's when you know that you won't put up with no one's BS.
But so there wasn't anything you were telling yourself that is counterproductive to get you out of there that basically kept you there. Was there anything like that? Whether you're saying, no, I could be a better person, so he could be a better person, shit like that people shouldn't be saying to themselves. Have you caught yourself in something like that?
No, I think I just at that moment caught myself in one, trying to help him, and two, shame. Shame, and possibly, people who before we got married said, don't get married, you don't know this person. I didn't know him from a hole in a wall.
They said it because they knew him, or just
think
saying
it
that
was
you
more
don't
of
know him.
his demeanor, or I mean, back then also depends how a person dressed,
Right.
etc. You know, maybe rumors from people in the barrio or whatever, but I was like, that's not the person I'm seeing. That's not what I'm living. And,
Right.
you know, people deserve a chance to change, and this whole second chance, and people grow.
Right.
So I was like, okay, that could have been him when he was 15, but we're 28. So,
Right.
and then I guess just that, more shame of, and then I don't think it was the I told you so. I just don't like people feeling pity or shame of me. So
No, nobody likes that. And you touched on our pre-interview about he would like to, I guess, in a sense, show out and be a person of the community and give and show a lighter side to himself, while behind the scenes he was acting like this monster. And was that something that kind of said, oh, well, the way he's acting towards me, he has this side of him, you saw that as a kind of like a glimmer of hope, or no? Or what that part of him front facing to the community, how did that affect you with staying with him even though you knew how he was behind closed doors?
well, it's just similar likes that we had. You know, my grandmother came from Acampo. Big ups to anyone from San Jose de las Matas.
Oh, shout out.
And I've always given back, you know, my clothes. I'm a shopaholic, oh Lord. I'm always donating it. You know, in Florida where I live, I put it out and they come and pick clothes up. And if my heart tells me, I'll donate to a cause. So, you know, we had similar likes, and I was like, this is me. We had a lot of similar likes, and I think it was more the similar likes that kept us together longer than we stood together.
Okay. And that kind of helped did it, well, not, I'm not saying that it did, but did it help ease how he was when he would get into those mood swings, so to speak?
But remember, like I said, they wouldn't happen often, at least not at the beginning. Like the first 6 years we were together, I wouldn't call them completely normal. I mean, I don't think anyone has a perfect relationship, and, you know, we all have our good days and bad days, but it wasn't like the last 3. The last 3 were when things intensified and became more often and more frequent, and by year 2 it was the begging and the pleading, and we can work it out, and he converted and started going to church.
Okay. Okay.
And of course, you know, religion slaps the Bible in your face, and la mujer edifica su casa, which means, you know, the woman is the foundation. So you keep trying and you keep working in your marriage. I think it's also a cultural thing.
Right. But then in those kind of instances, the work only comes from one side.
Correct.
So with that imbalance, once you realize this is never going to work.
Correct.
Now, what, if any, were his explanations to his behavior? Did it take the route of blaming the victim for making him,
Oh, of course.
you know, the way he was at the time?
Of course. His brain. This man had, you know, I don't want to go too many into stories, but one day
Oh,
he
no,
had
please
the
share.
audacity to make up a lie. He was proved wrong, but he proceeded to insist that it was true because his brain said that it was true, despite the evidences being in front of his face.
Really?
And, you know, times like that, that's when I said, okay, this person really has a psychological problem. He needs help.
Well, you were already going to therapy, so you
No,
were able
it was
to...
before
Okay,
then,
gotcha.
before starting therapy. Therapy was the last 5 months. Yeah.
Okay. Did you guys do it intensely, or...
I went by
it was-
myself. He never went.
Oh.
It got to the point that he messaged the therapist and told her not to see me anymore, that she was ruining his life. Because he was seeing that I was waking up.
Right. So him telling himself that it's ruined. Yeah, this.
You know, those stories. It's a psychotic
Wow.
person. It's
Yeah.
a psychotic person.
Yeah, sociopath. Deal.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Now, were there? You said there were people warning you in the beginning, but once they saw you with him, now you're married. Were they still warning you, or
No.
they just start dropping? They just backed off, like, hey.
No, they would hang out with him. They would visit us. I mean, I didn't have many family members in DR, but no, my family would visit me. They would come around. They would entertain him. Because like I said, at certain times he went above and beyond with being nice and serviceable.
Did he ever admit that he does that just to put himself in a good light? I mean, he knows he is who he is, but people want to, shine a good light on themselves to other people because they have to,
No,
you know.
this person has never admitted to anything.
Still.
Still.
You have a very close-knit group of friends, my wife being one of them.
Yes.
Now,
Love you. All of you.
when they found out, did you push them away because
No.
they wouldn't understand because you were in this abusive state of mind, or were you receptive to them and them jumping to help you?
They were my saviors.
Really?
They
Tell us
opened
how.
my eyes. I think they finished opening my eyes.
Mm.
So we're a group of 5 friends, 5 totally different humans with different likes, but we blend well.
Shout them out.
Shout them out. RG, Naughties, Evelyn, Jackie. Love you girls. Sorry. So this individual had already started texting people nasty things, and he texted them, our group chat, a nasty message. But of course it would happen when I wasn't around, and it would be deleted before I would even see my phone. But the girls knew where it came from. And
Oh, he would grab your phone and
Yeah.
text them.
Yeah.
He didn't have their number and did it himself.
No, but he would say it was from him. You know, nastiness that I never saw with my eyes, but I knew they went out. And I got a message one day from Notice that said, "We want to speak to you." And I had already felt that he had distanced me from friends in Dominican Republic that I had. He ended some of those friendships because either we were going out too much, and by out I mean to eat ice cream with our kids, daytime.
Yeah.
And, I told her yes, when I would be available for this call. And they all called me. And one of the girls, Jackie, she never speaks, really. She's always very quiet, very mellow. You know her.
Very reserved, yes.
Very reserved. And that day, none of the other girls spoke but Jackie. And in a stern voice, and she said, "Look, May, we're on the phone to tell you that this is not love." And then proceeded to tell me how they all felt. And I ended that conversation, and sorry, I'm open.
Take
I
your
knew
time.
this would happen. And I was standing in front of that mall, and I said, "I've lost friends, but this group of friends, I can't lose." And that day I looked at my daughter and I said, "Don't worry, we're leaving soon."
Okay.
And that's when I started to kind of prepare an exit plan,
Right.
because I had heard of an exit plan.
Okay. That was leading into my next question. So this would have been the moment, because it wasn't a person. It was this moment of many people, your friends, your close friends, for decades.
Oh, yeah.
That they just rung your mental bell, and they were able to help champion you to get the hell out of there. Okay. And the beginnings of this exit plan and telling yourself, and I know you must have had a lot of mental pep talks with yourself. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I would look at myself in the mirror and I would say, you have to be brave, but I didn't get to execute the exit plan completely because I actually ended up leaving in a matter of 2 days. Because
From that call?
No, from the final incident that caused me to run away.
And this was, now at this point, was it already physical, or this is the beginning of the physical? I mean, where did the physical abuse start happening?
It was the physical had happened twice before this part.
How do you reconcile that in your head to try and understand what he did when others would just say, hold on, you just put your hands on me, this is a wrap? Now, what goes through a person's mind? I don't know. I'm not an abuser, and I've never done that to a woman, so I wouldn't know how that dynamic works.
God
and
bless
then
you.
A woman in that position dealing with a man doing that to her, what's going through your head?
Well, you get blamed. You get blamed. They find a way to turn the situation around and at the end make you apologize for something you know you didn't do, but you get convinced that you did, or you should have said this, or you should have done that, or if you would have told me this way, or if you would have dressed that way, or, you know.
That you made me do this. Correct. Type of explanation.
Correct, and I'm sorry, and I do this because I love you.
Wow. The most insane reason to justify it.
Yeah.
Now, when this all started to morph into something bad, how did you strengthen yourself for your daughter's sake?
I had to. I couldn't show her any sign of weakness. I had to be strong enough to show her that in life she could be strong enough. And that's the reason why I also ran and left, because that final situation happened in front of her. The other times,
right.
You know, it wasn't then extensive. You know, it was the words and the throwing of things, but those final moments in that final month, it was like in front of her, and I said, I can't show her that this is acceptable.
Right.
She needs to give herself her worth and her value. And I guess, you know, in that I sought to end generational curses, because I come from an abusive home. Or,
right.
You know, not let me not say that, because it was with my biological father as a kid, toddler. I had a really good teenage life after my mom married my dad, my stepfather. May he rest in peace, and my father as well. But there I saw a stable home, and I knew I couldn't have that because I saw my mom have it in life.
Right. After going through that. Yeah.
After going through that.
Okay. Now, I can say her name, right? Your daughter. Is that okay? Yeah. So with Maylise, was she able to offer some, even though she was young, some support to you as some kids sometimes do for their parents? Or she was just helping you deal with it what would she do, if anything?
She would tell me everything was going to be okay. She would hug me. She would kiss me. She gave me a lot of strength. She's
a sweetheart, yeah.
Yeah. But then also, I'm a person that always shows strength in front of the public and crumbles in the bathtub.
Yeah.
So sometimes she wouldn't see me crying or wouldn't see me break down, but whenever she did, she would just come and hug me and say, Mom, we're going to be okay. Yeah.
Well, you got a special kid there.
I love her so much. I love you, Maylise.
I love you too. Now, leaving to many is a no-brainer, and it seems like to you it was, but was there any hesitation?
I mean, like I said, I was forced to leave.
So explain, since
Don't
there
wanna-
wasn't any
yeah.
hesitation, like explain what happened that, yeah.
And I guess this is the moment that's the hardest to share, but
Mhm.
I had a weapon pulled out on me.
Mm.
And in a moment that this person turned around, my daughter saw that break and said, "Mommy, run fast."
Mm.
And I have a turtle speed daughter, and she was running way ahead of me,
Wow.
way ahead of me. And she just kept turning around and saying, "Mommy, run faster, faster, faster."
Mm.
And we made it to a local colmado, a bodega, deli.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, something in me said, "Don't go through the front, go through the back." And I told the guy to please hide me and that I had an emergency. And I was in pajamas,
Mm.
short pajamas.
Oh, it's hot in DR.
It was Christmas Eve day, so December 24th. And thank God this man gave me money, called me a cab, and then I headed to my uncle's house and then proceeded to go to the courthouse.
Okay. What were the ways you shored yourself up to keep yourself away from him, and did you have the resources, or were you like many at the time without resources, which makes it harder? Now, you said that the dude had to give you money. All this happened. You weren't able to execute your exit plan. So, in a sense, you were with either no or minor resources.
Yeah, thank God that day my father, my biological father, had landed in Dominican Republic that same evening, afternoon, and he went to procure me from the courthouse and kept me with him. Obviously, it was Christmas, so I had to fake it and wear a nice dress and go out with my dad in front of my family and celebrate Christmas. And yeah.
Or were people able to just see the writing on the wall or on your face?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. They all
did
saw
they ignore it, or were people
No,
approaching?
I have to say thankful. I'm very, very grateful to the family I have, my friends, my mom's family, my father's family, my aunts, my family. They helped me, and I felt protected.
Good.
By all of them. But I was lucky. Like you mentioned, there's a lot of women that don't have resources, that they're left completely abandoned because everyone turned their back on them. Because
Right.
people see you in a relationship and they say, "I don't want to deal with it," or "I don't want to see her suffering. I just don't want to see it."
Yeah.
And there's a lot of women out there that are really left alone. And maybe because of that, don't leave.
And this is a good lesson for those going through it and those seeing others going through it. Don't ignore it. It's always going to come to a crescendo, and stuff is going to happen, and hopefully not the way we hear in the news that it does. Don't ignore those that aren't ready to leave yet, but they still need the help.
Yeah. It takes a lot. I mean, you're talking about love. You know? People that go into a marriage in love or believing they're in love. And, you know, I don't talk ill about anyone. I have a heart that for some reason I can't hate anyone. I don't want you near me. Like, I don't even want to see you, but
Right.
I don't hate you. And, you know, these people, and I say these people because to me he's a psychotic person. I swear that person needs a psychiatric unit.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they believe that that is love. You know, it's shameful, But in their mind, it's like a possessive love, and they believe it. They think it's fine.
And it's not.
No.
What are the constant lessons to your child that to show her and cement within her that this life isn't it, and to either avoid the situation which women find themselves in often, to many times, leave ASAP no matter the short-term pain?
I've spoken a lot with her, and I think the learning comes from her seeing my healing process and my current life and my current relationship. And, I tell her to look for the red flags. You can't tell anyone not to fall in love. I can't control that.
Of course.
But I do tell her to look for the signs. But most importantly, become friends first.
Right.
Like I told you, I didn't know this person from a hole in the wall. If I would have known his history, if I would have known that person, I probably wouldn't have dated him. So I do believe in that friendship stage. We need to know each other before you proceed to the next step.
And this history, did it start, you may have touched on it, but did it start coming out after you guys got together, or after you left him and then all of a sudden you were hearing all these things like, oh?
So little bits came while we were together, obviously from previous relationships he had and stories that came about afterwards. And of course, he had an explanation for everything. But a lot came afterwards, including possible drug abuse, drug use.
Right.
I never saw that specific drug with my eyes. I mean, marijuana, Mary Jane, not a factor anymore. But what was mentioned, my eyes never saw it, never found it. I mean, I was the head of household. I was cleaning and doing laundry. I would have bumped into something. But then the stories came afterwards, and a lot of it clicked. Because I said, well, it makes sense. I mean, he would literally transform himself to someone else.
And we're talking about like cocaine, coke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But he would show the characteristics of somebody using this, but you never...
Oh, I never knew what were the characteristics in someone on that drug. You know, like I said, my mother's situation with my biological father, I think that ended when I was 3, maybe.
Right.
So I wouldn't remember any characteristics then. And then I was never exposed to that in life or my circle of friends.
Right. Okay. What were the mechanisms you've encountered to put you on the road to trust men again after you left him? When you started saying, hey, I'm ready for something, but I'm going to approach this in a different way. What were those mechanisms?
Okay, I've never said I was ready. It just happened.
Well, okay.
But I knew that not all men are the same. Not all people are the same. I use the example of my dad, my stepfather. To me, he was an amazing man. I mean, I know he wasn't perfect, but he was an amazing husband. Called my mom baby until the day he passed, Was always there for her. She was his world.
Right.
And I knew that I can have that. I would see co-workers or other family members that have stable marriages, I would look at my friends' marriages, you guys as an example, and I would say, there are good men out there. I just said that I knew down the line I would possibly have a relationship just because I'm still young. 40s is the new 20s.
Yeah, keep believing that.
My bones might not agree.
My knees sure don't.
No, I don't got Megan knees. I mean, I try sometimes, but then I can't get up.
We'll save the twerking stories for another episode.
But I would always say, I want a healthy relationship. And funny you ask, because I had a friend one day say, write your intentions. And it has the date. It's in a notebook, 2018, which was 2 years or a year and a half after I came back. And I wrote my perfect guy. I wrote everything. Family guy, or a whole bunch of bullets. And it's funny because with my fiance, I checked them off, and he like checked majority of them except for one.
Uh-oh, Jerry. That's great, because that rolled into my next question, because a lot of women coming out of this would hope they meet a good man, a perfect man, or an okay man, and it shows that either put it out there, put it down, and cement what you really want in a person to come in your life, and you know what you can accept, tolerate, and this is a deal breaker. And you've had those. You created that.
Yep.
Or you just created the list of what you would want in a man.
Oh, no, I had specifics. He had to dance.
Break it down. Oh, okay. Oh, God.
He had to dance. He had to be a family guy, a mama's boy. I was so specific. I said Hispanic, born in the U.S., or American that is culturalized. Because Jerry has sazon, so it has to have that sazon.
I would say the dance part, just put that in the maybe pile, because for me it's definite maybe. But I get it, and I'm glad he hit most of those licks. But with that format, is that something that you definitely would tell somebody to do coming out of this, to just give you a clear head, or have you also done other things that...
Yeah, no, that obviously came afterwards, almost 2 years later. And, my friends kept pushing me, go online dating. I was like, oh, no. And, but at first, it took a lot. It took a lot. Obviously, there was a process. There was a divorce. There was a legal process. In addition to the divorce, because of harassment and things this person just kept doing, and obviously having to deal with that from afar, and have a lawyer represent you. It's not the same. There's a lot of things that your hands are tied, and then you come back completely broken. I was breathing, I was using my brain, I was thinking, I was working, lots of work so I can keep myself distracted, but I was soulless. I just didn't feel, didn't care, I didn't become evil. I didn't wish evil on anyone, or,
Right.
I didn't see, let's say, happy couples and I would feel hate. No. I'm always one that applauds everyone, but I was just heartless. Or not necessarily heartless, but completely torn.
And just drifting, or...
I was just alive. I was surviving. It's hard to go from 9 years and all of a sudden you're left with nothing, absolutely nothing. All your hard work, everything you put in, including your emotions,
Right.
were just taken and gutted out of you. I came back to lock myself in a bedroom, because obviously I came back to my mother's house where I have my bedroom. Luckily, my daughter had her own bedroom, and I would just cry, talk to friends. I had friends that would call me. And then I relied a lot on spiritual music. Lily Goodman, Jesus Adrian Romero. I relied a lot on music because I never lost my faith in God despite being completely torn and wondering what the heck is this and who would even do this to someone.
Right. And why you...
Correct, because I consider myself a good human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a really good person. Do I have my bad days? Of course we all do. Do I have my character? We do. I'm an alpha female,
Right.
you know, which can be intimidating to some narcissist alpha males.
Mm-hmm.
So possibly also an additional reason for their craziness.
Has he ever... That's a good point. Has he ever... So you're thinking that in some instances the way he was acting, it could have been because he didn't feel he was in control of you completely?
So. I believe so.
He
Yeah.
never verbalized that?
Well, he started calling me hombrecito, which is little man. So he would call me little man because, you know, I would defend myself and I would stand up for myself. And no, I'm not going to do that. I have my own brain,
Right.
my own likes, my own tastes. If I don't want to do that, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a challenge to men that need to feel they're in control, which comes that macho,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in them that he did not exhibit when we first started.
Right.
It was more, you know, independency and women and, you know, he was all in favor of, you know, individualism.
It baffles me because it's one thing I couldn't shake from a long time ago when RJ and I had our first child, and I forget where we were. I think it was at a party, and you know me, I'm involved. And when he was younger, I'm there, I'm taking care of him, doing this, doing that, and everything. And then, you know, we got home, we were alone, and I forgot how it came up, but someone asked her, and I think it was a cousin or something, or a family member, and they were like, wait, he takes care of the baby?
Mm-hmm.
He's at the party, you know, he's not just sitting with people drinking this and that. He's letting you do your thing. He's taking care of the baby. He's feeding him, doing this, doing that. And the way she made it seem, they were looking at me like I had two heads.
Yeah.
And to me, I said, I'm his father. What am I supposed to do?
No, that's not normal Dominican culture.
And I don't know, it just baffled me. I mean, and again, I'm Puerto Rican. I'm from the same, you know, culture. We're basically side by side. But
no, but you're New York raised. There comes me putting in my intentions.
Yeah.
A Hispanic raised in the United States. We're different. We're raised differently because we have...
And that encounter showed me that, yeah.
Yeah, because of our schooling, you know, even possibly our parents. My mother came to the United States. She was 12 years old. So my mother is more on your Americanized side. And we're taught that. We're taught family. We're taught help. We're taught balance. You know, that's the American culture, especially nowadays where everyone works.
Yeah.
We need to all help each other.
Yep.
But that's not taught back home, whether Dominican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Mexican. No, we're not taught that.
It's damn near a caste system where women do this, men do this,
Correct.
And children, you know, seen but not heard, and all this old crazy shit.
And
Well, what we perceive as crazy now.
And God forbid, as the woman, you talk back, especially in front of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when you get home,
it's customary and normal for a man to beat a woman and everyone look the other way. And
Unfortunately.
to ask what did the woman do. I've gotten asked that. And I'm like, really? What did I do to get almost my life taken away?
in front of your child.
Are you serious to ask me what did I do?
Yeah.
And it's a shame. It's a shame.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do darn jack.
Yeah. It's amazing that way of thinking. Now, so you're home. You're not even once you're on the way of getting yourself back to some sort of normalcy,
Mm-hmm.
and even giving someone the time of day.
Mm-hmm.
How did some men deal with this new you?
I wasn't
Or-
paying attention to men.
But if someone came along and you
Oh.
gave them a chance,
No.
or if they just nicely said, "Hey, what's up?"
No, thank you.
Cold shoulder.
Yep, completely. Ignored DMs. And it's funny because, you're single and people that know this person then start hitting on you and you're like, wait, what? Like, dude, I know you're married. I actually told one guy, like,
that's
are you bringing your
different.
wife? He invited me out for a beer. And I was like, so are you bringing your wife with you? And obviously he didn't write back. But no, I was not entertaining anyone at all. I wanted to find myself. I wanted to heal. I also knew that, and this abusive relationship was not my first. It was actually my second. The first one was, okay, I'm sorry, Dominican guys. I don't want to dog you. I know there's a lot of good ones out there.
He just happens to be Dominican.
He just also happened to be Dominican. That one was in New York City. It was not someone from there and, a womanizer. But I just didn't want another relationship. I had been many years that I had not been single.
Mm-hmm.
Like, jumped from one relationship to another without giving myself a break. And I said, I'm taking a break to revive myself.
Right.
I'm coming back to life. And I'm bringing back old May. The May when I was 19, 20. The one that had that mindset that ain't nobody messing with me. And I know who I am. And I know where I'm going. And that needed time. Especially when you're broken the way that I was broken. And it took me about 3 years. Almost 3 years. So no, I didn't pay attention to anyone. I didn't look at anyone. I didn't entertain. You would smile at me, I would look the other way. No, I didn't want it. And Jerry could attest to that.
Now, what were the beginnings and what were the things that you would latch on to? You said, religion, certain music, but when you're in bed staring at the ceiling, you have your daughter on your mind, and the things that would strengthen you, the things that would reassure you, the things that you tell yourself, what were those things?
You gotta keep living, mamita. You gotta keep going. You can't crumble. You gotta keep going. This is life, and we make of life what we want to make. And that gave me the strength. Just keep moving because you have to live. I couldn't stay sleeping in a bed. I wanted to get out of my mother's house. It's not easy as an adult to go to live back with your parents.
Yeah.
What did you buy? What's in the bag? Where are you going? Why are you going out so much? Didn't you go out yesterday?
What you're saying is ideal.
You're like, wait, I'm almost 40. What is wrong with you? But, yeah, I wanted my own place. I wanted to come back. I'm very independent, and I just pushed myself forward. And I just want to highlight something about religion. Yes, I was listening to a lot of spiritual music, but after my experience, I've actually become non-religious. More spiritual. I believe in energies. I believe in you set your life. You're responsible of the life you're living. Number one, by what you have inside.
Right.
Your intentions, your thoughts, your words, you get back what you're giving out.
Right.
And, as I said, I started manifesting. I manifested Jerry, and, I started doing inspiration boards and seeing where I'm going. Thanks to your wife, RG, she would also forward me materials to read and, to better understand. And my reasons for shying away from religion, it's not necessarily I'm going to sit here and say, it's all about money, it's a business. I see it as a business. But I don't feel that they teach you what they need to teach you with you as an individual in mind. There's an agenda.
So basically, their message wasn't in line with where you were at.
No, because it's, what kind of message is that to tell a woman who you can clearly see is in an abusive relationship and you need to work on your marriage? No, you need to work on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's not, and I'm not going to say they should have taught me that, but I just started seeing religion in a different way.
Okay. Now with Jerry, how was he able to capture your heart enough to put a ring on it?
So, Jerry and I actually went to middle school together. And I knew Jerry from middle school, never, saw him again in life. And I come back, I don't know anything about cars, and I reach out to Jerry to ask him a question because we were friends on social media. Obviously, as previous classmates, our classmates had all found each other. We're commenting on each other's posts and stuff like that. And, it was never awkward in a sense where I thought he would have any feelings towards me. So I reach out for car advice. It ends there. Obviously, it started back an old friendship.
Right.
2 years later pass, I go through midlife crisis. And I decide that I want to learn how to drive a motorcycle. So obviously I get my motorcycle endorsement and I need someone to fill me in on what's the best starter bike. So I reach out back out to Jerry. And from there, it just started talking again. And obviously, he would throw his little compliments and again, I would turn the other way. I would ignore it. And we're just strictly talking like two normal people.
He just keeps on and keeps on.
But he wasn't aggressive, though.
Right.
He really took okay, you're going to friend zone me, then we're going to be friends. And we became good friends because I guess I didn't feel that pressure.
Right.
From other guys, when are we going to go out? Or when are we going to see each other? And let's go for a beer. Bring your wife. So we became just friends. And it was actually a conversation about spirituality that piqued that interest. Because then I started telling him my views in life, my views about religion, spiritualism, just life in general based on my experiences. And he shared the same thoughts and concepts based on his experiences and his life and his research into different religions and stuff. And after that conversation, forget it. Fast forward to a couple of months later, I had wrote my intentions, like I told you, the year before. It had been a year and something that I had written the intentions.
Right.
And
the manifestation.
The manifestation of the man that would fit the description of what I would allow in my life.
Right.
And I had shared that list with my family because they kept pushing me to do online dating, and my mother was like, you need to get out because you're not going to meet anyone in your bedroom. And I was like, Mom, leave me alone. It'll happen organically. I believe that love happens organically.
What did your friends think about this? Did you share with them?
They wanted me to open up a Tinder.
Not feet first, face first.
They were like, just go all in. Dating apps, no. So, I said it'll happen organically. But I asked God for a sign. I said, when it happens, I want to feel it. Like in my gut. I want to feel it. And obviously, I haven't shared this, but in 8th grade, I did have a crush on Jerry. So I couldn't believe that my 8th grade crush was crushing on me. You would never guess, your crush crushes on you.
And he didn't know what you've been through.
He knew as we shared, as we were friends, but not in full details.
Right.
He knew I had been in an abusive relationship. I tried not to recount too many stories because if I go into specifics, it would piss off a lot of people. And I'm not trying to put anger in his heart.
Right.
Towards, it's a man that's falling in love with you and it thinks someone did these things to you. It's like, I don't want to share that.
So he knew you, and this is important for the guys listening to this, dealing with someone who's been through that type of relationship. They need to take care of how they handle that person. Yes.
And I would say that in my mind, I felt ready and 100% healed. But then later on, from feedback from Jerry, I knew that I wasn't. And in the sense that, one time he told me, babe, every time I go to pass you something, you flicker, you push back but he says, I don't think you're conscious about it.
Right.
So, it does take a little bit of patience, but I also want to urge the women that go through this, give yourself time.
Right.
Give yourself time to heal.
And the men.
And the men too.
Yeah.
And the men too. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it's abuse goes both ways.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So, back to Jerry's story. So, I was sitting in my bed and I was back at mom's house. My room and my brother's room was next to each other. And my brother's walking out of his room. And I know for you listening, you can't see me, but I was looking at my phone and rocking back and forth. And then with one hand, fanning myself. And my brother goes, what the heck is wrong with you? And I was like, I'm having tachycardia. And he goes, do you even know what that is? I was like, yes, it's when your heart goes.
Just beats Jerry all the time.
Yeah. No, it was beating really hard. And then my brother goes, well, didn't you tell God to let you feel it? There it goes. Are you going to let it escape?
Smart.
And I looked at him and I was like, And I looked back down and I kept rocking and fanning myself. And then I waited for Jerry to compliment me again. Because it would be very minimal. He would reply in a story smile, you have a beautiful smile. It would be things like that, very subtle. Like I said, he wasn't aggressive. And I waited for him to compliment me again, which later on he told me he was almost losing hope. And I said, you've complimented me a couple of times. It's only fair that I compliment you back. You're not bad looking yourself. And fast forward to today, I just prepped all the wedding invitations and I'm sending them out.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. And it's been 3 years.
Yeah, it's been an amazing 3 years for you guys. Yeah. I can personally attest, Jerry's an amazing man. And knowing what you've been through, it's great to see you guys as happy as you are. And, you guys are doing it. And
we're not perfect.
No one is.
We all have our good days, our bad days. But it's how you deal with those days. And as a couple, becoming each other's friends.
Right.
It's a friendship. it's a friendship.
Exactly. And, you know, communication is very important, and every relationship needs to work on it.
Yeah.
Mine's included, everybody
Yeah.
else. And it's a cornerstone to, if you guys don't realize this, and some women, it is a huge cornerstone to the relationship, and it should always constantly be worked on.
Communication and respect.
Yeah.
Respect. And I think a balance. I mean, man, I've evolved. I've evolved. As a teenager, I was that toxic, jealous girlfriend that was, oh my God, if I could go back and talk to that girl. But it's knowing when to stay low and when to go high. Like, you know, we have our days, we could get upset, but it's a matter of not both getting upset at the same time. You know,
Very
if
true.
you see someone upset, don't push them.
Yeah.
Why are you pushing the limits?
Right.
You know, leave them alone, let them be. And obviously, communication. Telling someone what you feel. But the most important part of communication, I would say, is listening. We don't listen.
True.
You have to listen. You have to listen.
Especially if if someone is the talker type, they need to listen. Someone
me.
who is not the talker, as me, they need to start talking.
Yes.
If they listen too much. And the one thing that I would like to get across to people is, as well, that first reaction may be not the best reaction to any type of situation. Case in point, something happens, and what you would say or how would you react, if you're able to basically put a pause on it and just work it out in your head, you would know that, okay, it may have been your initial reaction, you may verbalize something that is completely out of bounds because it is your immediate reaction to a situation. It might not be the best reaction to it. So I've learned to do that a lot and just stop, okay, work that reaction in my head. Yeah, that's how I react, but it's wrong. How would the sane part of you would react in that situation? And then the right response would come out. And that has been a lifesaver in many occasions. Doesn't happen all the time.
No, and we always need to work on ourselves.
Right.
You know, we learn techniques, you know, living the now, analyzing your emotions in the present.
Mindfulness.
You know, I read a lot of books going through my healing process and journey. The Power of Now is a book that I would highly recommend to everyone. It teaches you how to live in the now and how to let things go. And that's what I've learned a lot, how to process things, let them go. And I still work on myself every day. You know, I'm stubborn, I'm hard-headed. I was an only child for almost 12 years, so I have a little bit of being spoiled in me. So, but I think when you know yourself enough,
Right.
or we never know ourselves completely because we're always growing, evolving, but if you know yourself, it's easier to shift things and to catch things as you either think them or act them.
Right. And not getting yourselves in certain situations that can lead to this type of living, or God forbid
Correct.
something fatally happening. It's, even though some people who do go through situations, regardless of how mindful they can be, maybe this is a learning experience that the powers that be put them in because they need to learn something from this.
Yes.
But to keep your mind open to what is the lesson, regardless of how shitty the situation is.
Yes. And whatever this is that we call life, we don't know.
Yeah.
You know, religions tell us one thing, science tells us another, the news tells us something else, and then you have your conspiracy theories that believe in something else. But at the end of the day, we don't know what this is. We all have our beliefs. I believe this is actual hell, and we need to live through it, find ourselves, learn ourselves to be able to evolve to somewhere else. That's my opinion.
Right.
You know, that's how I see it. So, in knowing that this is possibly hell, and it's based on the Bible, you know, God sent Lucifer to be king of what? Earth. So, don't need to be a rocket scientist. So, in knowing that, I know that things are going to get thrown at me.
Right.
It can't possibly be perfect. It's hell.
Right.
That's how I see it. And I say, throw at me whatever you want, because you know what? I'm making it to that holy land.
So we'll call Jerry a hell of a good time.
Very good.
Now, any final words or thoughts for our listeners?
Thank you to you for giving me a voice. And I just want to talk to anyone that's going through this at the moment. If you're listening, it's going to be okay. Rely on your support system, whatever it is, as tiny as it is. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. You are the captain and the leader of your life. No one else. And there's always, I'm not going to say bigger, better, more grandiose, because life is life and we have to live it. But it could be a lot nicer than what you're currently living. And for those that are seeing people, and you touched on this a little bit, have patience, but keep an eye. Because that person will need support when they're ready. You can't push them. They won't hear you. But if they know they have the support, once they're ready to do it, don't make them feel like they have to live this because they don't have anyone to help them out of it.
Wise words.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So thank you very much for listening. This is FYI, I am damaged.
FYI, I am damaged.
Take care, everybody.